Russell Brunson, Jordan Belfort, Dan Lok, and Myron Golden, four of the most influential closers and wealth builders of our time. They were all trained by Joel Bauer. Joel, when you hear those names together, what immediately stands out to you?
Jordan Belfort. I did not want to train Jordan. I'd heard whatever, and I wasn't going to take the call. Finally, one day, I just picked up the phone. That's all I said, Joel. And he said, "How do you expect me to pay reparations if you don't train me?"
Russell Brunson, Jordan Belfort, Dan Lok, and Myron Golden, four of the most influential closers and wealth builders of our time. They were all trained by Joel Bauer. Joel, when you hear those names together, what immediately stands out to you?
No one's ever asked me this question because normally if we use names, it sounds like we're name dropping and it's braggadocio. It doesn't come off very well. But when you ask me, I can address it. So
Thank you.
Russell, let me address all three. Russell wanted to increase his closing ratios. And he wanted to do it intimately. He wanted more of an emotional connection. And my first advice to him was, we need to slow you down because the audience can only consume and therefore make a decision based on the speed of their consumption. And you're moving at a different oscillation. You're moving at a different rate. With Tony, I had to get him off the stage. And now you'll see that he has security, doesn't need security. No one's trying to tackle Tony. Okay. But whatever, that also can create the illusion of demand. I got him off the stage, walking around the room, connecting with the people and touching them because I needed to be able to relate to him. Here's this guy who's 6'5", ostensibly, and handsome, articulate, but overpowering from the stage. Like he wanted to be a rock musician. And now he's connecting at heart level. And now he's converted it, just like we did, to entirely online. He rarely does live now because it's a larger audience. And during the pandemic, we saw this conversion where we could create intimacy online where before no one believed that intimacy was really possible. Like right now, our sound quality and our connection, and I can see you and I'm focused. And if I needed to pull up a file or proof, I could reach into 27 terabytes of proof. You can't do that live. It's very difficult to do that. So Tony, just by breaking that third wall and moving around the audience and connecting and touching people with permission, massive. Same thing I had Russell do. Third individual you mentioned, Jordan Belfort. I did not want to train Jordan. I'd heard whatever, and not surprising, right? I'd heard some stuff, and I knew that he was somewhere that none of us want to go. And he kept calling the office and saying, "I want Joel to train me." And finally, one day, I just picked up the phone, and he said something brilliant. I said, because I wasn't going to train this guy. And I wasn't going to take the call. It was strictly going through my people. I happened to be standing there. I want people to hear this. So this is brilliant. I said, "Joel," that's all I said. Not hello, I didn't want to train the guy. Okay. And he said, "How do you expect me to pay reparations if you don't train me?" Wow. Okay. I said 2 words. Okay. Handed him back to my assistant, who was Candace at the time. He was the nicest guy. I was entirely wrong. He was kind. He was cooperative. He was a team player. He built his presentation and went on and launched everything that he's doing now. Meaning this was the catalyst before he went to Australia and went on the tours with producers. I don't know what he did with the money, but I know that apparently he's done very well. So all three of them shared one thing in common: the desire to intimately and emotionally. And in today's world, just as we saw demonstrated with Alex Hormozi, which blew away my closing ratios. Very few people do 80 to 100 mil in 1 6.5-hour presentation. But how did he pull that off? He did it the way we do it, by building trust, by giving away massive value upfront, expecting nothing in return, winning over the trust, which is repetition and frequency, the mother of this new behavior. Give. He convened a huge audience at one time and then made an offer that didn't even seem like an offer. And no risk, massively valuable. And he went back to giving again. So this model of, we're no longer in the Dan Kennedy, who's brilliant, tease and agitate, where you essentially show the audience what they might be able to do, but you don't show them how. I don't do that. Create real value. And then at some point you run out of time and you say, "I wish I could serve you more," for those of you that are interested. So I don't teach people to sell. I teach them to convert emotionally, where the audience has a relationship with them and they want to continue it. And without that relationship, anyone that thinks they're going to go on a workshop or a webinar in 45 minutes or do an autoplay, and they think they're going to be effective in today's world, well, they're in for some real surprises. Because with the AI automation, people can put themselves out there right now where it sounds like it's going to be great. But when they actually get on with an audience, they can't speak, they can't teach, they can't close with predictive precision. They weren't trained. So they have all the marketing and all the collateral, and they have all the copywriting that they've essentially stolen from all the other minds out there. And the people arrive and then they leave and they don't come back because you cried wolf. So there is no 5-minute fix. Someone's got to learn to speak from the heart, teach a conversation to conversion where people relate to every move and they actually know they can do it. They've got to know that everything, don't show them what they can't do, show them what they can do. Most people are losing their audience because they're showing them something that's so perplexing, the audience can't say yes.
Right. So they're basically stopping them in their tracks from saying yes. And you talk about relationship. I mean, what does it take to build a relationship with the audience? Like, what is that?
Well, currently, and we spend a lot of money on, we do organic, obviously. We have over 2 million students internationally that I've trained online, offline, 5,900 at the highest level. Oh, sure, we can do a mailer and a lot of them will show up. I'd say about 3 to 5%. And this is after years and years and years. That's one way. Direct marketing, though, direct response. Same thing that Russell's doing currently. You spend money, you target your audience, you don't do a lot of unnecessary social media. Matter of fact, what you're doing here, I consider to be the most effective because you're plugging into an audience, large or small, that hopefully is targeted and would be interested. So we advertise a 5-day challenge. We lose money on it on the front end. And man, do I over deliver. Now, the reason for the 5-day challenge, and I want people to really listen to this, 3 days, not as good. 2 days, not as good. Webinar, not even close. Workshop, all effective, minuscule impact. If you want to convert at high ticket and you have something that's actually worthy of a high ticket investment, the only way to do this cold with an audience you've never met before, and I think anyone listening in here would be very interested in how do I convert someone who's never met me before? And do I need to go through all these different stages and sell something at 37 and 97 and 497 and 997? Oh my God. And you just beat them to death versus giving them something so comprehensive they don't need to invest again. You give them 100% money back guarantee for a year. You pay them if they fail. You need to be that assured. I actually pay people if they fail. If they make all the moves, which is the only caveat, and they fail. And I want everyone to write this down because if you don't have a guarantee, you're not going to make money in today's world. You must have a guarantee that they're going to produce a certain result when they make the moves. Use the templates, use the boilerplates, use the system, because if you can't guarantee it, no one wants to hop on board. So again, it may seem like I'm digressing here and I want to stay on target, but it's a relationship. So for the first day, and even the day before we start, I give them 5 questions and I actually study their answers and customize the 5 days. No one does this, certainly not for $29. It's masterclass, but it's masterclass where the term isn't being abused. Usually it's not a masterclass. This is 43 years condensed down to 5 days, hour and a half a day. Each day, they go deeper, and each day synergistically connects. They're learning 5 moves to actually monetize, and I've never seen a failure. They're actually able to monetize, brand, position. So each day, you create a deeper relationship. Now, at the end of the 5 days, 93% of the people who signed up and have a little bit of skin in the game, the $29, the $29 maybe offsets our advertising by 5%. So we're not making money there. If they end up reaching out to your company and they want to hop on board, there's an opportunity after the event. It's a separate event. And because they've been with you all week and you never sold them, you just gave them, you empowered them, you nurtured them, you held their hand, you nourished them, you cared about them, because you gave them the world, there's a really painful disconnect when they realize that this is my final point of contact today. I'm going to connect all these points of light. I'm going to connect all the dots here for you. But without me, there are still 5 things you're going to need to do. Then you explain the other things you're going to need to do, and you find them hitting on the application button with yourself or members of your team who will vet them and qualify them. And so we don't even sell them. We just create value and make sure they'll succeed even without us. But they realize that without a mentor, without a coach, without someone there to address their concerns, their roadblocks, where they're stuck, they're not going to make it because most people fail without the mentorship. And so that's mission. And I explain that to them. There's no lies. This isn't duplicity. It's not prevarication. We're not misleading them. We're telling them the truth. They need to build a relationship with their audience. So instead of my selling something, from $29 to they're making a major investment if we accept them. And we will not accept them in a program. And I want people to take notes on this. If they're down to their last penny, we will never take their money. I don't want them tapping out. I don't want them on credit. If they can't afford to do this with open mind and open heart, and they're not serious, and we feel they're going to fail, and the only two people that onboard them are my son and daughter, two of my three children, who have been training with me for about 30 years out of the womb. And they understand me intimately, and we love what we do. So this is boutique. My wife runs the company. We are a family. And they know that. And they know that they're actually being supported and nurtured. We don't do autoplay, okay? We don't fake it like we're doing it live. And it's it's gobbledygook. People know that. I'm talking to them directly, and we keep the groups very small. So I want everyone who's listening to write this down. Great things happen in small groups. Nothing happens in a big group. So if you got and I come from 25,000 stadiums, 25,000 people, 12,000 people, I was a stage closer my entire life. And I had to drop all that nonsense because what's working now is connection with the heart. They need to be able to relate to you. And I apologize if I'm coming off here polarizing or too strong, because you're not asking me the standard questions. They're not. And I'm passionate about this. So if I sound polarizing, passion and polarization sound identical. I don't care if anyone ever invests a dime in us. They need to know relationship, continuity, constantly over-delivering, consistency every day, making sure that everything you teach actually works. And even if they didn't buy, they didn't invest, they didn't apply, you want to make sure they succeed no matter what. I want them to have an incredible experience, which is why we don't get a lot of bad-mouthing out there, which I know you've seen online. It's pretty horrendous.
100%, especially in the guru space, right? Where everybody wants to be a guru. But I want to take you back to the step, like, I'm familiar with Russell Brunson's work for many, many years, like .com secrets, expert secrets, recently traffic secrets. And there's a common theme in all of them, right? And you've just taken us through part of that. It's hook, story, offer, right? Creating your offer, making sure that offer is there, and also building your value ladder at the same time. In terms of you saying you give them huge value at $29, right? And then you make them realize that they need the other part, which is, the mentorship. And if they're at the right stage and right space, you want to work with people who are a good fit for you at the same time as well. But how do you craft that value ladder according to the people that you're going to address? And how do you know that's right at the same time? Because Anthony Robbins' value ladder is totally different, and he has different facets of it. Russell's, he's built ClickFunnels out of it, and he's done really well. I think he had a record-breaking amount on stage in the way that you've done it and the way you teach your mentees how to do it as well.
First of all, and I'll be very frank with you, and I'll name names, and I'll be very precise here. You mentioned Russell, you mentioned Tony. Both of them I've had relationships with. Tony I met when I was courting my wife-to-be, and I've been married for 44 years. So I met Tony at UCLA when she was studying there. This was after he was trained by Jim Rohn. He's trying to pitch the firewalk that he learned from a gentleman in Hawaii. And I saw everyone leave the room when the bell hit. So I walked up to Tony and I said, "You're handsome, you're articulate. I loved your connection with the audience today. It was rather masterful, but you had 0 signups. Would you like me to help you fill the room? I won't even charge you." He says, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "I've been filling rooms for 8 years. There's a process to it. And what you just did, you didn't have a specific call to action. You didn't close. And no matter how good you are, if you can't close, you're going to be doing something else in life. You're going to have to compromise the integrity of what you wanted to offer because you won't have an audience." And so I helped him put the first 1,200 people in that room for that firewalk using a system. Now, the reason I tell you this is because you're the one mentioning Russell, and I didn't give you questions. This was a very last minute booking. You contacted our company and said, "Can he jump on?" So I don't have this history, with you, and you didn't get questions and we didn't mail you anything.
No,
so
this is
you mentioned these two people. So Tony's not a closer. Tony's a master at motivation, inspiration, framing ideas and concepts. I consider him one of the top 3 on the planet. Doesn't get any better. But as a closer, he doesn't close. He has someone else close for him. I don't agree with that, because the voice of reason is the person training you. Tony doesn't even have to close. All he would have to say to his audience is, "We're going to break right now. There's going to be a link here. It's not going to be presented again at any point. We're either in rapport. You either know that I have what it is that will make all the difference in your life, and I have a 1-year incontrovertible de facto guarantee where I'll not only give you all your money back, I'll pay you $5,000 if you make all the moves and they don't work. This link," and this is the only time I'm going to break, you're going to break. If you go to the link and you make an investment, which is going to be a 50% reduction on what people normally invest in our processes, and it's a tax write-off. Bear in mind, you're either giving the money to Uncle Sam or you're giving me some to offset my expense. I have a real team, it's a real business, and this is the only non-offer I'm going to make. I'm going to open the door one time. That's all he would have to do, but he won't do it. Now, let's go to Russell.
Why is that, though? Why won't he do it?
You tell me why many people have a poverty consciousness, why they won't ask for the money. Tony doesn't come from money. Tony was his story. He's washing dishes in a bathtub.
Mm-hmm.
Tony didn't come from a splendid background. And by the way, Tony and I are friends. We had the same publicist, Phil Lobel, Lobeline Communication. And one day my publicist pulls me in and he says, Tony Robbins would like to meet you. And I said, he saw you on a television show that we booked you on. I said, well, you're both of our publicists. So meet me, set it up. And, that was the beginning of a friendship. I used to go down, I'd give him insights. What should I do? I was watching one of his big events and he would ask me about structure and flow. I have great respect for what he does. He doesn't want to close. He thinks that asking for the money diminishes the impact he has as a teacher and as a mentor. But when it's done correctly, you don't have to ask for the money. They apply. Just like Vassar, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Babson, they're applying. Think about the hell. We have 3 grown children, and they had to apply to get into all these colleges, even though all of them who graduated, with the exception of my son at Berklee College of Music, none of them have used what they learned. And they all tell me, Dad, we're using what you actually do, because they don't teach us how to make money in school. They don't teach us how to set up our practice as a doctor, as a dentist, as an engineer, as an architect. They didn't teach us. It's as if they don't want us to succeed. They don't teach you how to actually make the money, target the client, convert the client, sustain the client. They don't teach you how to attract, convert, leverage, retain. So they don't teach you a system that's actually going to monetize. So back to conclude your question with Russell and the value ladder. If anyone here goes online on YouTube and looks under Russell's webinar structure, he says he was trained by Joel Bauer. I didn't edit this. He says, when I learned to do this one move, so here's the one move. If you were to say to me, what's the most important move of all? This is what Russell and Grant Cardone went ballistic online. It's online. It's in his advertising. When Russell taught Grant what I taught him with permission, it's called permission to reveal. So when you get done creating all this value on this ladder of opportunity, bringing people in, and you have a beautiful structure where you are self-effacing, they understand the problem that you solve, you've created massive value, you showed them what they can do, not what they can't do, you've secured, calibrated, and punctuated each point along the way with testimonials that confirm that it's going to work for them. Is it easy? Can I do it? Does it actually work? All you're getting are yeses, pre-qualifiers. You've done everything you were trained to do, which is what I trained Russell to do. And he'll tell you, I was like one of the first people he ever trained with. But this is the pivotal moment. If your people here don't take this seriously right now, because they're not going to hear this online. Like, this is proprietary. You do not close ever without permission. So years ago,
Can you break that down? I mean, when you say you don't close without permission, I mean, give me an example of that.
No, I'm going to explain it. So years ago, I was attending a magic show from a man by the name of Andre Cole, one of the greatest men I've ever met. Taught David Copperfield, wonderful guy. And he did his illusion show for about an hour. He had his wife and children in the show. It was amazing. And then he said, ladies and gentlemen, the magic is over. I'm going to send you on a 15-minute break. For those of you that come back, I'd like to show you the real magic, which is embracing my Lord and Savior. So he was telling them, he was saying, if you come back, I'm going to share with you the real magic in my life. But if that's not comfortable for you, then this represents closure for us. And I've had a great time in my family. We loved giving you illusion. Now, if you want the truth when you return, I'll introduce, and again, I'm not getting religious here. I'm telling you what he did. That blew me away. I sat there and said, oh my God, he's not proselytizing. He's not putting people in an uncomfortable position. I should make sure that I include that with anything I do. Well, it's like saying to someone when they call you, you're calling someone last minute for something, someone really important to you. And you say, is this a good time? Most people don't ask. They just bombard the person, and they're in the midst of 3 things. They're under deadlines. And as you know, men can't multitask. Women can. They have more brain matter. That's a fact. That's science. So don't ask a guy to multitask. It's one thing at a time. So for Russell, he said it changed his life. It was the pivotal moment. And I have all this. I have all the proof. I have him saying this on multiple videos and online with Grant. He said, when I learned from Joel Bauer to ask permission to introduce my family. So here's the first thing. May I have permission to introduce my family and the system that has put me in a position where money is no longer a concern. Or number two, may I have permission to introduce my family and my system that has put me in a position where depression is no longer a concern. Or number three, because there's only three categories, that everyone is going to be choosing a category: financial, emotional, or physiological. May I have permission to introduce my family and the system that put me in a position where sickness and pain are no longer a concern. So I just gave you the exact languaging. It's the permission. And if they don't choose to remain, they exit and they don't badmouth you because you didn't clobber them. Now, the other thing people need to hear here is you're closing before the event begins. You're closing before they were born. Now, everyone always says, what does that mean? I'm 60 for 27th, right? Coming up here, about a month, not much more. And I've been on stages since I was 8 years old. And from the cruise ships and performance as a really mediocre magician who got better, and then the cruises that gave me an opportunity to learn to audience manage and close, and then the trade show floors where I represented Apple and Toshiba and SanDisk and Mitsubishi and all these huge companies where I learned to frame an idea. And if the people didn't stop and they didn't convert, I would be fired. I was never hired by anyone. I was always an independent contractor presenting, teaching, and closing with predictive precision. I had to be able to predict the outcome and guarantee it. And then I found out I could deconstruct that process and transfer it to anyone. So when I trained Russell, he went, oh my God, there's a psychological syntax, there's a structure, there's a sequence, there's an order in which people will make the decision. So when you talk about the value ladder, that's a term that was introduced much later on. They didn't even know what they were doing. Most speakers were just copying someone else. And you got to understand, most of these guys out there right now could be my children that are now, they don't even know where they learned it. This is not me saying, oh, look, no, I'm just saying they don't even know where they got the information anymore because it gets watered down and you can't sue everyone. Okay. It's very hard to protect IP. We do the best we can. And now more than ever before with AI. And a lot of people don't realize, but they need to be very careful with AI because much of what they're doing will produce a lawsuit later on. You're not allowed without permission to use other people's imagery or their language if it's trademarked, copywritten, and protected properly and globally. You got to make sure you have trademarks on many levels. So people don't realize that, oh, I'll just do this. And they're also misrepresenting. You can't misrepresent. We're dealing with times now where being legally compliant and making accurate representations that you can back up and deliver on is essential. Or one lawsuit will completely derail them, and they're going to end up working for someone else for the rest of their life. They have no idea of the repercussions from misrepresentation. So I protect my students and anyone that I train, my graduates. They all know we've got to be able to make a promise and over-deliver on it. Nurture, nourish, support. See, most people do one of three things well. They do the marketing well, and they get people to come somewhere. Okay, that's great. Some of them do the delivery well. The webinar, the workshop, the 5-day engagement, the one-on-one, the one-on-many, fantastic. Other people do the follow-up well. Most don't do all three. I teach all three for one reason. If there's a break in any one of those links, you're losing a fortune and you're not supporting those people on a heart level. You're not taking care of them. There's a before, during, and after. And if you're not going to master all three and really be competent, consciously and unconsciously competent at the before, the during, and the after, you're going to fail in this industry. And I'm just telling you the truth. It's better just to exit. If well, I'm a really good presenter or I'm really good at doing the market. Well, no, you got to be good at all three or you got to put people in the right position. But if you can't do it, you're putting someone else behind the driver's wheel of your business, your life, and protection for your family.
So you've stood on many stages, you've mentored many people, and you failed many times in the earlier days, right? Which has led you to create a 20-move matrix. Now, you say no one who's followed it has ever failed, right? So if we were to take just 3 of those moves, especially the ones that people overlook, but change everything, what would those be?
Well, one of them I already covered, and that's permission to reveal, where they're applying and hoping they're accepted after you have presented with permission the opportunity for them to do the following. And here is the entire key before I reveal the 3 moves from the matrix that absolutely will work, even from this call. If anyone just adds these 3 moves, they don't have to call me. They don't have to buy anything. If they just leave your interview here, this podcast, and they do these 3 moves, they will see a change in their closing ratio. They will see an intimate connection with their audience where people are commenting and following and sharing and really excited because it was such an authentic and empowering process. And bottom line is they'll monetize in ways they haven't monetized before. First move, pre-frame, pre-show, pre-event. Say it again, pre-frame, pre-show, pre-event. It means that before they get to you, as a result of the videos in your YouTube channel, as a result of the videos on your TikTok, as a result of your Instagram, as a result of any video they've seen on you, as a result of your funnel and your commercial, as a result of that video, they've already experienced the proof because you're using testimonials where other people are confirming on an emotional, visceral, palpable, tangible level that they've had a breakthrough, either financially, emotionally, or physiologically. Financial, emotion, physiological, whichever category you fall under. And everything falls under one of the three, as I said earlier. So before they ever get to you, they already know what they're going to experience. What is the result? All of the marketing should be all about what others were able to achieve and have achieved currently, and our best practices that they can learn, they can take ownership today in any one of those areas. The pre-frame, the pre-show. How you begin is how you end. Now they know what they're going to receive. The worst thing you can do is simply say, countdown clock, and we're starting in 15 minutes, and the people get there early, and they have no idea. They're not being projected into the solution. They need to be experiencing the result before you open your mouth. That's the pre-frame, the pre-show, the pre-event. Even if you're just setting up before your challenge or your webinar or your workshop or your one-on-one, even when I have a consultation, I tell people to show up 10 minutes early. It's very important. We're starting right on time, but 10 minutes early, I'm going to be preparing you emotionally for what you're going to embrace, what you're going to be able to do, for what you're going to achieve. Pre-frame. Most people don't do this correctly. They don't set the expectation. They don't set the anticipation. They don't project people into the solution. Number two, the silent salesman, the $1 billion principle. The one technique that if I were to die tomorrow at 4:41 p.m., which is not a projection, okay? That's not a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm just saying if I were going to die tomorrow and I hadn't taught my children, all three of them, or my grandchildren, this is the one thing I would want to teach people before my last breath. People, in the words of Robert Cialdini, who wrote his books on persuasion and influence before I ever wrote mine, I believe in crediting source. He's a beautiful man, great information, and he said it better than anyone's ever said it. People live vicariously through the words and actions of others. So I took this concept and I taught people to acquire testimonials that were so emotionally compelling. Number one, they have to be emotional, and that's not going to happen first time out of the gate, 99% of the time, meaning people are searching for the words when you ask them to say something. And if they haven't had an incredible life-changing breakthrough experience, financially, emotionally, physiologically, then they're not going to give you anything of value. So you need to know what you want from the testimonial. Most people, they'll just say, oh, whatever they got, they're happy. Well, that's not called punctuation. So a punctuation testimonial confirms the thing you're about to teach. That's the pre-frame. Or it verifies the thing you just taught. And remember, we're dealing here with a podcast. So we only have auditory, even though you're capturing this on video and you might be showing the video as well. I'm not supposed to do things that are visual here because those listening in won't get them. So I want everyone to write this down. You need to punctuate the things that you're teaching and the things that they're going to be able to do by confirming they work before you teach, and then punctuate it after you just taught the principle. And now it frames it, locks it in, and you've just overcome the objection that they may have manifested, that they will never manifest. You're overcoming all the objections before the end. And that's why I never need to rush at the end, because I don't close at the end. You're constantly closing without being manipulative or divisive, because it's ethical and moral the way that I'm doing it. You're confirming that everything works. You're giving them permission to take ownership and to proceed and to fully marry themselves into this equation. And the formula works every time. So permission to reveal, third component. You have, if I'm just using 3 of the 20 moves, these are the 3 most important. The pre-frame, projecting them into the solution. confirming every step of the way with everything you're teaching that it works and that it will work for them as you've never had a failure. And they have all this confirmation, overloading them in all the right ways, because everyone out there has an ethical and moral obligation to make sure that someone invests in what you do, because you ostensibly are going to take care of them. And if you're not going to take care of them, you shouldn't be doing this. If you are going to take care of them, and if your process actually works, you have a moral and ethical obligation to have them invest in your process, because if they don't invest in you, they're going to give their money to someone else who won't care and maybe doesn't deliver. And they're all hype, all presentation, but they can't deliver on the back end. And that is intolerable. That's what hurts the entire industry. And you've got a lot of people selling a lot of stuff out there that sounds great, or they have one part of the puzzle, but they don't have all the pieces that coalesce, integrate, and synergistically impact an outcome that transcends their expectations. You need to over-deliver, under-promise, over-deliver. Very famous statement. Those are the three components that I would recommend. The pre-frame, the constant confirmation, validation, verification, and Russell does this exactly the way I taught him. And then at the end, the call to action with permission, which he also did when he had his $10 million close, which again, Alex just obliterated, because no one's done those kind of numbers. But a lot of people forget that Alex has nurtured that audience over a period of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Okay. That close wasn't based on 6.5 hours. It was based upon trust. It was built by over delivery. So don't be impressed by his 6.5 hours. Be impressed by his desire to give. And then when an offer is made that's too good to be true, and it is true, and it does work, you're going to have a beautiful response. And people will find the money even if they didn't believe they had it.
I mean, the difference between Alex Hormozi, Alex puts out so much content, it's hard not to come across him. Russell Brunson, he's created his own character, right? Because I remember him breaking it down before. And he teaches this as well. You have to pick your character. Are you the founder? Are you the lost entrepreneur? He comes across very lost, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but I've just fallen into this space and I'm trying to make it work with you guys. And he's relatable from that perspective. So the way Alex, Tony, and Russell do it are three totally different ways, right? And this is what I want to dig into. But before we do, tell me about that. Russell was the first person to come out with this, maybe because of you. Sorry, go ahead. I feel you want to say something.
It really is a conversation here. So I just want to respond to you.
Of course, please do.
It's not that different. If I were to sit here and we had enough time, I could analyze all three and I could show you that actually, in many ways, they're doing the same thing. They're just spreading it out differently. With Alex,
please break it down.
It's long-term, constant value, and you'll hear people bad-mouthing them unnecessarily because there are people and so no matter what you do, if you're going to put yourself out there, I need everyone to hear this out there, through you in this vehicle, people are going to say mean things on occasion, and we never delete them. Because when you have a preponderance of people raving about the results and raving about your emotional commitment and your over delivery, when you have it offsets it and they sound and look ridiculous. Let them be. Let them exist in their little world, knocking you down to make themselves feel better, which is generally the case. So if you look at all three of them, Alex is using the matrix. I could actually identify all 20 moves that he's making if I go through his process. And no, he did not train directly with me, but he's trained with people and he's studied people that I trained. And I could see it. I could see it in the process. And he did it brilliantly. And by the way, I want you to know something. I love his content. And he's got a research team that's unbelievable. So when you listen to his stuff, I'm recommending that everyone tune into him for free, whether you spend a penny or not. He's great. He's one of the best. I don't think it's being done better in terms of content delivery, small dose, high dose, great value. Fantastic. Russell is using fundamentally my structure of this 20-move proprietary matrix, and he has permission. He has permission in writing to use parts of that structure in what he teaches. And he does it brilliantly. And the reason he deconstructs, and I want you both to know, I want you to hear this now. This is what Alex and this is what Russell both have in common. They're doing my deconstruction close. They're telling you how they're closing, what to say, what to do. It's called a transparency close. You're transparent in what you're doing. You're transparent, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I want to pull back the curtain. And you don't have to lie. You don't need any kind of misrepresentation. You can be completely transparent. Tell them how to do what you're doing, and they'll still invest because they'll go, oh my God, there's nothing concealed here. It's all being revealed here. Telling the truth now has become a superpower.
How do you deal with all of these marketing gurus, which are these Lambo gurus and rented mansion gurus who are trying to appeal, and I'm guessing invoke an emotional reaction of desire, to force these people or coerce these people to signing up to them, and they underdeliver? I don't want to bring any names, but we all know some of the famous ones that have gone around and been around and also come
Ty
down.
Lopez, I mean, I'll just use a big name right there. He didn't hide it from anyone. He would rent a Lamborghini and a Ferrari, and he'd put it in the garage with the keys that said Hertz right there. It's on the video. He would hire models. He didn't conceal that. He'd hire beautiful women to sit in the cars, and he wasn't abusing them, by the way. He's actually a class act. I actually like Ty. I like him a lot. He's got a lot of great knowledge. I love the fact that he's pushing people to read and educate and empower and study and live vicariously. A very bright guy. He didn't hide it. And then everyone else started jumping on the bandwagon. It's been done before him, after him. So in a world now of AI, where we've got dragons and tigers, and your daughter at 3 years old can have a tea party with a dinosaur breathing fire, nothing surprises us anymore. You know what stands out? And you know what's going to happen as a result of AI in 6 months and a year? No one's going to notice any of it. They're going to notice the humanity, which is why Alex is sitting there. Russell's in a t-shirt. Alex has got tape on his nose so that you notice, why does he have tape on his nose? He doesn't need to put tape on his nose. Why is his hair sticking out? Why does he have big muscles? It shows that he's got discipline. He's showing off that he's in good shape. He's got his short pants and he's just sitting there, and he's a regular guy, but a regular guy who has massive success. So people can relate to that. So the truth is, what stands out, Alex isn't using a ton of AI other than the management and the back end and the bots. Sure, but he's still got a massive team. The AI isn't ready yet for prime time in terms of running I'm not going to name names here, but I know people teaching AI, and behind the scenes, they tell me it's not set it and forget it. We still need 100 people on our team. Now, our team, we have about 7 people. We do huge numbers, and we do it with transparency, and we do it with small groups because, again, great things happen in small groups. So here's the bottom line. You're going to stand out in the world, and your humanity will transcend the AI insanity of the current moment. I'm not putting it down. It's useful. I use it for many things. What I don't use it for is to write for me, articulate for me, or solve problems for me. When you stop being able to solve the problem for your students, you will cease to be effective as a mentor, as a teacher, as a saifu, as a conduit of joy for every girl and boy. You're not going to be able to satisfy their needs in private consulting. You're not going to be able to stand on the stage and have a knowledge base that you can draw from no matter what question they ask. It makes you numb and dumb. Don't do that as a coach. Don't do that as a mentor. Now, if you're just out there for the money grab, sure, you'll automate your stuff. It'll work for a while. It'll look pretty, but when the people actually show up and you have to deliver, and you're not just an automated representation of what you look like or someone else, that's going to wear thin. The people that I trained will not only transcend what's happening now, they'll sustain your humanity, your contact. And this really pissed off, I don't want to name him, but he's one of the world's top marketers. Even Dan Kennedy has great respect for him. Dan Kennedy's a brilliant, brilliant man. We think differently. I've been on his stages, and we're different in our approach, but I have great respect for what he does. There's a lot of ways to achieve a result. And the gentleman I'm thinking of here that he trained freaked out one day. He told me this behind the scenes. He said, I just spent all this money on a Rolls Royce, and I got the big house, the mansion, and my wife is, trophy wife, put together all the jewelry, And he said, the other day I just took out my iPhone and I just walked around and I posted the damn thing because I didn't have time and I needed to communicate something. And my conversion was about 20 times higher. We are living in a world now where your humanity will end up trumping all. People are still going to want a human being like Anna's, like you, to guide them and lead them and pull the answers out of people and give them the tools and the tactics and the process to ensure, as an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, or would-be entrepreneur, that's what you're providing. You're providing actual closure here. Because if people listen, I listen to enough of your podcast to know that, man, you find really good people and you control it, meaning you're not targeting a massive audience. You're trying to create real empowerment. And I think you're really making a difference, Ennis. So the truth is, I want people to understand they already have a voice. All these people tell you, find your voice. No, what they need to do is get rid of the masks. They need to find out who they are and get rid of all the layers and all this induction, all this nonsense that was told to them. I train speakers, right? They already speak. I'm teaching them how to organize what they say in a way where people hang on their every word, follow their suggestions, and do it ethically and morally, and what they're offering actually works. No misrepresentation, no prevarication, no pain. It works, and their students actually succeed. That's what differentiates us from almost everyone else in the marketplace, is we have about a 30%. And by the way, I'm telling you the truth, 1/3 of our students actually monetize hardcore and succeed. And I've got a track record of 20 and 30 years. Before there was an internet, I was doing this. The internet made it easy. Oh my God, this is so easy. I flip on a light over here. I put a statue in the corner. This is a set. This is my little production studio here. And this isn't a master bedroom. Okay. My wife's got a bathroom over there. This house I bought for cash from one presentation using the Matrix in England 27 years ago. How do you know that, Joel? Because my son was 1 year old. And this was a house. My wife said, I want to buy a home, Joel, where we never have to move, where our kids can always come home. I wanted that large. I'm in my bathroom right now. And this bathroom is the size of some people's condos. This bathroom,
Congratulations.
my little man cave. And I am so comfortable here. And we run a multi-million dollar business. This is where I operate from. Yes, I used to do all live events. We still do masterminds, and occasionally we'll do big events. But this is why Tony has now converted, and mostly everyone online, because you can have 18,000 people or 180,000 people tuning in. It's all doable now. And you can have the intimacy. Now, right now, I don't have a green screen, but it's over there. Normally, I'm using, 4, 5, 6 cameras, and I'm operating everything from just these buttons. And it's immersive and emotional, and people are blown away. And I teach my students to do that so they can present way beyond. And I also teach them how to build their walls of power. So instead of them spending $75,000 like Tony is with Dean Graciosi, and by the way, Tony has Dean closing for him. Did you not figure that out yet out there? I'm not talking to you right now. I'm having a conversation with you, Anis, but I'm also talking to your audience. Does it occur to anyone that huge wall of all those faces, that big audience, I show my students how to do that for free. No technicians, no staff, and mine looks even more impressive, and mine's real as well. And you can do everything they're doing with a few buttons and a free piece of software called OBS when you know the strategy. Super simple, zero cost, $1,000 savings out of the gate, and you don't have to hire anyone or anything. I make sure my students can do it. There's no mystery. You pull back the curtain, you give them everything, and then you support them successfully until they can do it. It takes an average student about 3 months. And again, well, Joel, if only 30% of your students succeed, what happens to the other percentage? Another third finds out they don't want to do this. They find out that this is not for them, and they find out very quickly, and they don't have to waste any more time downloading and guessing and hoping and praying. No more hopium, right? That's another third. And they're very happy. They go, man, you told us the truth. And then there's a second third that says, I don't want to be independent. I want to use this in my existing business. I want to use this with the existing company I work with. I'm going to use these tools and tactics to amplify and position myself where I'm creating more value, more connection, more intimacy, more engagement. And that's why we don't have the complaints.
You've got the structure fully set out. That's definitely clear. And I wanted to go back to something you said before. You said, if you don't provide a guarantee, people are not going to make money.
Yeah, by the way, just for the people that can see, I'm letting them see the entire matrix there. And my cameras, they're backwards. Yeah, it's backwards on your thing, but they can transpose it if they want. But that actually those are the 20 moves that probably 22% of those out there are using. And whether they trained with me and paid me or learned from someone that distilled it and didn't even know what they were stealing, it is what it is. And it works. And it's it doesn't require talent. It's technique. I just wanted to kind of give you that visual fix because you asked about it. And why not just show them so they could actually freeze frame if they can see it and they can download it.
Sure. This is going to be edited, so I could overlay that on the screen as well for people to see it clearly.
And I can give you an excellent high resolution graphic of that, so they have an idea. And by the way, it's pretty self-explanatory. Like it shows you the flow, and it's all in English, so it's very simple. But it actually works, and it doesn't require talent. It's pure technique. Technique is transferable. Talent is not.
You said you don't need talent. A lot of people, before they get in front of a camera, they're like, I'm camera shy, or I don't know how to stand on a stage. I don't know how to speak. They have all these preconceived fears, right? How do you break through that? How do you get them to the point of the Anthony Robbins and the Russell Brunsons, or even close?
So I have a question for you. A gentleman by the name of Kyle Mallion came to one of my master classes after 50 of those. I did 50 master classes. They averaged about and people care about numbers. They averaged about $1 million a master class. If you can't retire off of $50 million plus, and by the way, it was a lot more than that. I'm just saying it was minimum about $1 million per class, about $1 million, 2.7. And these were small classes of 50 people. They flew in from all over the world. I did them for 33 years. Okay. And that was just one thing we were doing. And it put me in a position where I have nothing to prove. So here, I enjoy being with you here. This takes a little bit of time out of the day, and we get to help people that we may never meet, that we may never support. So I want you to ask the question again, because I lost my train of thought just now, and I'm telling you that honestly. I want to pinpoint what you're saying there, but the reason I'm framing it this way is I want people to know that what they're going to hear now, this answer, and I know what the question is now, because it's about the fear of public speaking. It's about how you present yourself unforgettably at the first point of contact, and how you persuade those who are shut down, who normally wouldn't give you the time of day, and how you preserve, nurture, leverage, and have those people investing in you, the present, persuade, preserve, the 3 Ps. What I don't do is teach them body language. I can. It's not useful. What I don't do is teach them to identify a different voice. I'm not teaching them tonality. Yes, I have those skills and I have those teachings there for them. I teach them to plug in their actual history. So when Peng Joon came to me, another gentleman flew in from Malaysia, does about 23 million a year right now. His focus is SaaS now. So he's got complete architecture. That's his focus because it's a brilliant prescription model. He had never made a dime. He was trained by Tony Robbins, Blair Singer. He was trained by the best of the best. He flew all over the world for training. And his father said, "You're done. I'm done spending money. You're done. You didn't go to a traditional college. You wanted to self-educate. It didn't work, Peng Joon." He said, "Dad, I heard about this Joel Bauer guy. He doesn't even advertise," because I didn't. All word of mouth. "Would you allow me to attend his master class in LA? And if it doesn't work, I'll go into farming with you and I'll take over our Durham farm." And Peng Joon did not want to be a farmer. He was raised to be a farmer. His father was a brilliant biochemist. Peng Joon flew in and he got really upset at the first break. He walks up to me. I'm about an hour and a half in, 2 hours. And he says, "Look, I realize we're not supposed to ask you questions, but you're totally accessible. You're not hiding behind a curtain. You're right here. I have to ask you something. This is too simple, and I'm afraid it's not going to work. I've been trained in allegory, metaphor, implants. I've been trained in NLP and every other pseudoscience and technique." And he said, "This is too simple. You're telling me to inject my family, my history in certain places. You're telling me to speak like a human being without the pre-qualifiers and without all locked." He says, I said, "Peng Joon, I'm going to wire you back your money right now. We'll do it by 5:00 today. I'll pay your expenses. Whatever your expenses are, just let us know. We'll fly you back to Malaysia. It's been a pleasure." He says, "I don't want my money back." I said, No. This is not a close. If you've got 1 foot in and 1 foot out and you can't embrace this process, I'm not going to be able to help you no matter what. I said, "You came here. You need to suspend your disbelief because what you've done hasn't worked. Am I incorrect?" He said, "None of it's worked. I haven't made a dime." He said, "Okay, I'm going to sit down and forget what I just asked you." And he laid out his matrix, spent the 5-6 days with me with the small group that was there, about 50 people. He went back to Malaysia and he had his first table rush 11 days after the event. His girlfriend, Shu Ying, who runs his company, who's frighteningly brilliant, as brilliant as he is, she's smarter than me and him combined times 10. That's how smart she is. She's crazy brilliant. She had her eyes shut because she had only seen him fail. And he was at a Success Resources event in Malaysia, and one of the producers lifted Shu Ying's hand off of her eye and said, "We're out of forms." She said, "What?" She said, "He's got a table rush. 6 tables, $4,000 a crack." He'd never sold 1 unit. He'd sold some stuff online for $30. Yeah, he'd done that, but he never closed. What he wanted to train to do was work in front of a room, online, offline, big time, high ticket. And he never looked back. He made $10 million out of the gate in the first year. I'm not implying or suggesting that everyone does it. Some do more. Some do nothing because they don't implement, or they got 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
And what was the specific thing that he changed that he was doing? Because he was trained by all of these people from all around the world. What was the specific thing that you told him that made that difference for him to be able to close that night?
Is it okay for me to mention that my name is Joel Bauer and that there's a .com somewhere? At the top of my .com for free, Peng Joon came to me in Malaysia when I went there because I traveled all over the world doing this. It works everywhere. Dubai, Australia, New Zealand, everywhere. India, Pakistan, Bangalore, Bangladesh. I've done this all over the world. I've never seen it fail because the principles of presenting, teaching, and closing work everywhere the same way. We're all the same. We want to raise a family. We want to live a good life. We want to die peacefully at 160 years old with no pain. We all want to be independent. Everyone wants the same thing. You want to take care of those you love, and you want to feel good about yourself and have the respect of your children and be able to guide and help people. So Peng Joon used the matrix, and that was the blowaway. He did not have the order, the structure, the compartments, and he didn't know how to personalize it. He didn't know how to come from truth, authenticity, and proof. I'd like everyone to write that down as listening in here. TAP, tell the truth. So I had him tell the truth versus all the manipulative techniques that he'd learned, all the devices. I love Tony Robbins. We are friends. I can call him on the cell phone. He'll probably call me back within 3 hours. Tony, when he presents on stage, will present a metaphor. And if you could ask him, you can't, but if you could, he'd say, yeah, I wrote it. I constructed that. I don't teach that. That's great. It's fantastic. He's marvelous at it. I don't teach that. I teach people to find the metaphor in the truth. I teach them exactly how to find the moments in their life so they never forget them. They don't have to memorize anything, which is how they get past the fear. Because we all have a fear, including me, of public speaking when I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Oh my God. Don't ask me to get up in front of a room at a wedding where I don't really know the people and say something nice when I have nothing nice to say because I don't know them. When we come from our truth and we're authentic and we don't compromise our moral fabric or our integrity, and we know what our moral fabric is and we come from integrity, and we show the proof that every single move we're suggesting has worked and worked and worked for others they can relate to, then they apply with a money-back guarantee where you pay them if they fail. We've never paid anyone because no one's ever failed who makes the moves. If they don't make the moves, they always fail. And if they don't have mentoring, they fail.
It's down to implementation, right? Everyone has to implement what you're teaching them. That's what it comes down to. And Tony Robbins, he was already in the game at the time. And when you first sat across from him, what struck you first about him? And what did you do in that moment?
Well, I told you what I did. I was at UCLA. It's the first time I ever saw him. And he was trying to sell a firewalk. It was $97 a ticket. He was trying to offset his costs. He was working with producers. He wasn't making any money at that point, just what he could sell. He was a beginner trying to figure it out. He'd been trained by Jim Rohn. So he was teaching Jim Rohn principles, and he had a little bit of NLP that he learned from John Grinder and Richard Bandler, which is something that they constructed while they were high. Frogs and princes, they were token, man. They were, I really find it amusing because it's like Pilates. Everyone thinks it's a science. No, it's a series of exercises. And then they created some equipment, and suddenly anything that's ever been created on this planet, any certification, any designation, doctor, lawyer, voyeur, every single thing that's ever been created has been created by someone just like you and us. You and I, same organs, same physiology, same gift given by God or whatever you believe. To me, things are so infinitely complex and magical that there's no way that this just happened from an explosion. So I hope people have some type of higher power in their life and they don't feel that they're all that exists. I learn all the time, and I have learned to remain appreciative. If you're someone out there that's got hot and cold running water, you've got a meal, at least one meal per day, you've got air conditioning and heating, you've got a domicile and clothing to wear, you're in the 5% of the world. People don't realize it. I've traveled. I realize it. I remember my first trip to India, and it was all charity. We do a lot of charity, meaning we flew around the world, did countless events where we weren't making any money at all, and just empowering people, especially like the Philippines. I remember these beautiful people, or Vietnam. The best students in the world I found were in Vietnam because they knew that the quality of their life would shift based upon their knowledge if they knew what to do. It's all about education. It's just appreciating that here we are, and they have access to this podcast. There are people who now have nothing, but they have a cellular connection. The homeless in LA have cell phones. They give them. We're living at a time now, which is amazing. No one should be irritated or it rhymes with itching. No one should be complaining because all the education now is available and it's for free. It's out there. They can and they're either going to give their money, as I said earlier, to the government if they invest in someone like myself, doesn't have to be me, who's got all the pieces of the puzzle, from the technology to the communication to exactly what to say, what to do, how to build their product, their system, their engagement, how to build their audience, how to do everything to present, teach, and close with predictive precision, calculable and predictive precision. That's what's not out there. You've got a lot of theorists. So the one thing I would urge everyone to do is find someone that's been doing this for 5, 10, minimum 10, 15 years, not someone who just put this together in the last year or using a watered down version of something they copied somewhere else, because most of it's all a copy. And most people are telling you, I made $1 million in 72 minutes and I'm here to share with you on TikTok. Oh, give me a break. Those people are either going to be jailed or fined when the FTC or whatever governing body in their country gets a hold of them. You cannot look into the camera now and lie. It is not permitted. It will catch up to you. Do not have AI write your book. Really bad idea. If you don't come from your experience, then you don't own it. I'm not asking people to recreate the wheel. I show them how to monetize their life experience online, offline, what they've already done. They don't know the value of what they've done. They don't understand that they've been preparing their whole life if they only knew how to package it, position it, and profit with the right structure. So the Matrix was the answer, and it is the answer for running their half-day event, their seminars, their webinars, their workshops, their consulting, their commercials, their full day, their masterclass. My structure allows them to build the entire business from any angle. And once they build out their matrix, they've got all their answers. And I know that sounds hard to believe, but it's only taken me 43 years to perfect and polish it. And fortunately, with every iteration, it worked through the evolution. No, AI doesn't scare me. I love AI for certain things. Grammar check, to restructure my writing and clean it up instantly. I love it when I'm looking at something I may want to vote on with my wife here in California or whatever, and I'll take the 860 pages that they never expect you to read, and I'll have it disseminated in ChatGPT 5 into 12 points after I prompt it and let it know who I am and what our concerns are. And it'll tell me whether that bill would even be evaluated with any merit. That's a great application for AI because it's a fast assimilation tool. But when you get dumb and numb and you rely on it to create your content, your connection, your collateral, and your clarity, you will not be able to deliver. Then you're just in it for the money grab. And if all you're trying to do is a money grab, go do something else. This is way too important. This requires heart. If you're not going to care about your audience out there, if you're not going to care about the one-on-one and the one-on-many that you train, if you don't know that your system is going to work for them financially, emotionally, or physiologically, you should be doing this. We've got enough unethical people out there. We don't need another one. There are far easier ways of making money. Now, the kind of money I make is crazy, and that's a reality because this is the easiest thing. May I share one thing with you that was kind of the catalyst for all of it? I'm sitting on the toilet 26 years ago, right over here. Now, the toilet currently has a cabinet on it because I don't use this as a bathroom. This is one of 7 bathrooms in this home. And this has become a production studio. But I was sitting on that toilet one day and my wife is banging on the door because she wants to talk to me and have breakfast. It's about 10 a.m. And I had sent out a 30-second video with testimonials to a bunch of producers online, just in an email, little 30-second video, low resolution. It was like 5. It was so tiny. It was horrible. It was like fuzzy, but it got a great response. And this guy named Roger Salem, pretty well known out there, he responded to my email, so did a bunch of other people. And he said, can you hop on a webinar on this thing called GoToMeeting, which then was pretty popular. The resolution was terrible. It would black out on you and disconnect. So I hop on, I'm on the toilet, and I got my earplugs in just like these, so I can hear myself and I can hear him, but I can't hear anything else. I mean, these are custom. So these actually are custom for my ear canal. Can't hear my wife banging on the door. And I don't know how pissed off she is. When I got off that call in 41 minutes, I had generated over, let me give you the numbers because I actually went over this morning because there's nothing like proof. Roger Salem, 49 minutes I was on, 41 sales, 2,497 was the price point, 102,377. He got to keep 50%. So let's just call it 50 grand. For some weird reason, he wired me the money. Like normally there's a 30, I don't know why he did it so quick because there's cancellations that could happen. Didn't happen, but there could be, right? And I don't want to hurt someone. He wires me the money and I gave him my wife's tracking account on her checking account before we got married. She had a personal savings account, no prenup. I'm just saying, I make plenty of money. So it's kind of like her fun account, right? Do what you want with it. She didn't know that. So I go downstairs and I'm getting snubbed. I'm getting this she won't even look at me. What did I do? So at about dinner, right? I go down there with dinner and I got my head between my legs because I don't know what I did. And someone I love is upset with me. And I said, could you give me a clue? That's all I said to her. Could you give me a clue? She goes, yeah, you were rude to me. I'm banging on your door. I want to have breakfast with you. We're married. And I hear you talking to someone else. You're talking and you're completely ignoring me. I said, do you remember your checking account before we got married? that I occasionally have money thrown into just for fun, even though what's mine is yours? She says, yeah. I said, there's over $50,000 in there. I was on the toilet. And I told you I was sending out an email and I had a technique and I was getting a huge response. Well, someone had me jump on a thing called a webinar, which was pretty new then. And this is like that pivotal moment where I knew I cracked the code. And I was only on there 41 minutes. So when you banged on the door, apparently I couldn't hear you because I had on these earplugs. And you know I'm a little hard of hearing from the trade shows all those years. I said, that 50 grand is yours. Go buy a purse, do what you want with it. I said, I hope you can forgive me, but I'm not going to apologize for making us a living and putting us in a position where money's not a concern. She said, so she queues up the account, right? And she said, you were on the toilet and this money was wired. This deposit was put. She says, can you do it again? When she hears me in the bathroom now, like right now, she will never knock on the door. She'll send me, I got an iPhone over here. And if I see it flash and it's family and it's an emergency, there's no emergency. No one ever. Don't bother. Dad was in the bathroom. He's the usher of the flusher. Don't make an issue of the tissue. I was sitting there with a laptop on that was the pivotal moment where I knew I cracked the code. Then she went with me to England where I did a $492,000 close right in front of her. And she was sitting there stupefied.
When you say England, you mean UK England?
Yeah, I was in the UK. I was with David Kavanagh. We were speaking at an event. And at that particular event, because I actually keep notes on these things, and it was not a great event. It was a good event. At that event, 414 people in the room, 197 sales at $2,497, 491,909, $491,000. Half of that is mine because generally the producers take half because they're putting the people in the room. We were on vacation. I just go speak for fun. Like I don't think I've ever paid for a vacation ever because wherever we go, my wife will go shopping for a few or whatever, spend some time with the kids and she'll go, look, I'm going to take off for a few hours. And I go, okay. And I'll either walk into a room. Literally. You wouldn't believe the stuff that I do and the stuff that I teach and how simple it is and how direct it is. Remember, I'm an expert at direct response. That means you do something, you generate it, and you demonstrate. The reason people invest at such high levels with me is because when they experience the presentation, they're the old saying from Confucius, tell me and I'll forget, show me, may remember, involve me experientially, sensorially, and I will break through, transform cathartically, meaning So whenever I teach something, I give them the boilerplate, the template, I plug them into the actual solution and get them to generate a result. That's why they invest. Most people are just talking. They ain't gonna buy on a significant level. They have to see it, hear it, feel it. It needs to be sensory. Remember, this isn't NLP. This is basic biology 101. They need to see it, hear it, feel it. Visualize it. Needs to be auditory, needs to be kinesthetic. Years ago, someone was trying to teach my son. He had a speech impediment when he was very young. All three of my kids, they had the same problems I had. They got, unfortunately, my genetics. My wife was freaking brilliant. They had a hard time. And we got him specialized training. And I remember taking him to the therapist after about 6 months, and he was getting no progress. And I said to her, I need to come into the session and listen for about 5 minutes. She said, we don't do that. I go, well, then, nice meeting you. Send me your invoice. This will be the last time you see my son. So obviously she let me come in. Within 2 minutes, I said, I'd like to meet you outside. We left our son in there. I said to her, I need you to touch my son. What? I said, his shoulder, back of his hand, I need you to anchor him physiologically. He's a kinesthetic. You're not touching him. He's not hearing you. That's why he's had no progress with you. But I said, you want me to sign a release? I'm asking you to touch the back of his hand or his shoulder. Touch him. She goes in, she comes out at the end of the session. She goes, they didn't teach me that. And we stayed with her for another 6 months and he had a breakthrough. And he's now professional. He's a vocalist. He's a person that had trouble speaking who now sings for a living and he's so frighteningly articulate. So we need to touch people emotionally, show them visually and auditorily connect with them. And they need to be able to relate to something they can do immediately. And then they will invest in your process if it's experiential, has a guarantee and pays them if they fail. I'm telling you, it's just, I may be simplifying it here, but not really. And they need to have a relationship with you that's so painful to leave that they can't imagine going elsewhere because they know that you are the answer, the only logical choice, a life by design, not a life in default, which is their fault. They've been living in default because no one ever showed them a systematic approach to having everything they want, need, and desire.
So I guess this matrix, you've applied it through many people. So Jordan Belfort, when he came to you or he approached you, what did you have to change in his straight-lined pitch? to make it work from the stage for him specifically?
At the end of my event, he hired me as a private consultant, and he wanted me to accelerate because he was leaving for Australia. And I said, I'm exhausted. I just did a 5-day event plus a bonus day. I didn't even charge you for it. I said, Jordan, I'm not available now at any price. Yes, you are. And then this is where I saw the other side of Jordan. Okay. So I told you about the happy side. He's very compelling, and I did not charge him more than I normally charge. So he hired me for a lot of money to build the matrix for him that I'd already taught him how to build, but he wanted me to do it on an accelerated level. So I was up with him for a day and a half. I didn't sleep for almost 30 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I was already exhausted to begin with. And then he was able to go to Australia and present, teach, and close his straight line method. You see, he didn't know how to package it. He didn't understand how to present it. He could talk about the concepts, but he didn't understand the pre-frame. He didn't understand the lockdown. He didn't understand when to be self-effacing. He didn't understand where to put the testimonies. He didn't understand how to construct the offer. He didn't understand which close to use. One-on-one with penny stocks is very different, okay, than one-on-many with a high ticket. And he wanted to go from low ticket to ultra high ticket. Okay. If you know his history, if you even saw the movie, there's some degree of accuracy in the movie, and there's a lot of exaggeration as well. But he was known for selling stock, and he got himself in some trouble, right? I'm not here to put him down. I'm telling you, I had a great experience with him. And then I had him in private consulting. And part of him was, like a little apprehensive, but he said, no, I know Joel's the answer. I know you're the answer. You have to do this for me. You have to. And he was, I'll pay you anything. And I said, no, I don't do that. Okay. So he broke me down. He just was relentless. And he hadn't made the movie yet, by the way, the Scorsese movie he hadn't made it yet. I thought he was full of crap, to tell you the truth. I didn't think the movie was going to be made. And then the movie came out, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. He went on the road, and he never looked back. It was.
Did you have to pull him back ethically?
Well, here's the problem, and I fear this. This is the only thing I fear on the planet. I don't fear death. I don't fear that. I have a 97-year-old mother-in-law downstairs with 24/7, nurses around the clock. We have like a hospital set up in a wing of this house just to keep her alive. She'd be dead 15 years ago if we hadn't pulled her out of hospice. And I'm not going to talk about it, but people are legally killed in this country. Their families stick them in these little boxes. The majority of people live a long time if you take care of them. It's amazing. So ask me the question again, because I just went to a place that's obviously,
Well, no, I think it ties everything in. And I said, did you ever have to pull him back ethically?
Yeah. And so here's the fear I have. What I teach works whether you're ethical or immoral. And that's the problem. So we try and vet people. If we feel they're all about the money grab, we're not taking them. We won't take their money. We won't train them. Won't get near them. Won't mail to them. Done. Lock them. Done. Don't want anything to do with them. And we do that a lot. We're very careful about who we embrace. Do we make mistakes? Yeah, we do. Sometimes someone will fool me. There's some really effective people out there who don't care what they do for a money grab. I don't know, in the case of Jordan, I don't know if he's ethical or unethical. He was very nice to the people at the event. As I said, he was a team player. He was very kind to me, paid his bills, but I don't know. And I want everyone to understand that.
As you personally, did you personally have to pull him back ethically? Or as you're saying, the relationship was great, you work together brilliantly, and he's doing what he's doing?
Yeah, here's the problem. I understand your question. We have no control over that. All we do is we use our instincts and our intuition and questionnaires, and we try and make an effective decision. Have we trained some unethical people? I would imagine we have. Would I give them back the money if I could take back the knowledge and reverse that? Yes, I would, in a heartbeat without apprehension. So all you can do out there, and I want to give you a contrast point. If someone rips off your materials, right? Let's say they do a screen capture and they put it on a torrent stream. I was talking to Peng Joon when I was training Peng Joon about this, and we're talking about protecting IP, which everyone should be concerned about, because everything you create is intellectual property. And we said, if we spend the rest of our life trying to sue everyone, and we access that point of anxiety and frustration, and it's going to, number one, it's going to give you cancer. It's going to kill you. It's going to kill you even if you're alive. You just can't do it. You have to hope, and you have to use your gut and your instincts and your ability to sort, sift, and separate for the right questions. But ultimately, it comes down to instinct and intuition and emotional intelligence. You can tell, generally speaking, my children can tell, they're really well trained for this, whether we're dealing with someone who is with integrity versus without. And if it's marginal, we won't take them. We won't take them. People are blown away when we turn them away, and they're trying to pay us, and we're going, nope, sorry, we don't feel we're the right fit for you. We wish you great success. Here's a copy of a book electronically. Enjoy. Hope it helps you, but no, my dad's not the right fit for you. That's all. You don't have to say more. It's got nothing to. It's just, we're not going to train someone that we feel is unethical. So
But is that through the research that you do, or your children do, or is there a set process that you go through to identify someone who is unethical, or is it based on like gut feeling and instinct? And
currently, I mean, when you're standing on a live stage in front of an audience, Ennis, when you are standing in front of a live audience, it's really hard to sort, sift, and separate because they're all running to the tables or running up at the forms, and they're going to a QR code and they're entering it in right on their phone, because 83% of decisions are made on the phone now. So you got to make sure it's more mobile ready than, internet ready on a big screen. So at that moment, we tell people that when you invest, we're not really accepting your money until you're onboarded. This is what I do that no one else does. My son or daughter or a member of their team of 4 will onboard that person. And if they feel they're not the right type of person, they'll say, it's a charge card. So your money's already back in your account. We want to thank you for your beautiful intentions to work with my father and have him support you. We do not feel that we are the right fit for you. We don't feel that we can support you ethically or morally in the way that you need support. And we apologize, and we're probably wrong in many cases, but we're going to pass for now, and we wish you great success. So we don't take anyone's money until they're onboarded, and that's when the decision is made. Do we probably turn away some good people? Probably, yeah. But we also turn away some people that are less than extraordinary with their intentions, and they're just in it for the money grab. What I teach is not a 5-minute fix. It takes about 3 months for someone to dial into everything and be able to monetize, and they can still run their life. It's a few hours, three days a week would be enough, because it's all there, it's all organized. And then I'm supporting them on a bi-monthly basis. I don't know anyone that provides. I am constantly supporting my groups in ways that I had Myron Golden, one of my students who's still an ongoing private coaching student, one of the best closers out there. Brilliant guy. Love him. Best of class. Russell depends on him. He does the repitches for Russell. Myron will tell you, big part of his success he owes to Russell. So Myron trained with me many times and also in private consulting. And he said, Joel, why do you give away something you could charge millions for? I said, Myron, when is enough enough? I said, I can't spend what I have. I mean, my children, God forbid something happens, I can take care of them. Myron, I want my people to have the experience I would want to have, where they have every piece of the puzzle so there's no frustration, no delusion, no confusion, no fear, and all the guarantees in place. He said, well, and you know what he does? He sends me clients all the time because he only wants to train people at the highest level and for the most money. That's great. And I appreciate that. And he does a fantastic job. He says, you'll take anyone who's sincere and give them everything they need, whether they're high level, you'll scale them, or whether they're starting. I believe that people have the capacity to be the greatest mentor in the world for the person who trusts them, the person they're given opportunity to serve, the person they get to counsel and consult for, and then the person makes the moves and they succeed. So the greatest mentor in the world is not Joel Bauer or Tony Robbins or you or Linda Clemens or anyone I've traded. The greatest mentor in the world is all of us. When someone comes to us and we have a systematic approach that works and we hold their hand and nurture them till they succeed, whether they're transcending trauma, whether they're reversing type 2 diabetes, or whether they're embracing a financial solution that is predictive and controllable. It gives them the income to generate their outcomes. I appreciate you having me here today very much.
It's an absolute pleasure. I just want a final question for you. Russell Brunson broke stage records, right? I mean, take me into that room. What did he apply from your system, and where did he surprise you by surpassing even you at the time?
Well, first of all, he did what Hormozi, again, they share the same. There's a common thread here. He nurtured that group for years. They were people coming back over and over again. So when people say he closed them in a few hours, no, he didn't. That's absolute BS. His call to action might have been the last 40 minutes, but he was nurturing them through the whole weekend. He was nurturing them through all the other training with ClickFunnels. He was nurturing not through traditional social media, but all the paid advertising, the direct response. He was building that relationship on the pre-frame before they ever got there. And then he made them an irresistible offer that was so valuable and so over the top, 20, 30, 50, 100 times more than they would be investing with the money back guarantee, with all the guarantees in place. He followed the exact prescription. And then when he got done, he had Myron come up and do a religious repitch where Myron tied into the core of heart, higher power to pick up on those that might be apprehensive. And he did another 3.5 million. And Myron did that in 21 minutes. If you follow the structure that you paid for, because you said, I saw the whole, he sells the analysis of how he did it. And he made a fortune on the selling the analysis. I even bought it. I never went through it very much because I was one of the people he interviewed, as part of the process. But it was the result of a relationship. And his sales would have been even higher if I had slowed him down, because he was going very fast, and not everyone can process at that speed. Again, how you start is how you end. I want people to remember this. Never move faster than the speed of consumption. It's a saying of mine that I learned, School of Hard Knocks, and I learned it on the cruise ships. I learned it on the trade show floor when I was developing my system, and when I was developing my original proprietary matrix. It took me 43 years to get to this point where it's reliable, requires no talent, only technique. Technique is transferable, talent is not. And that is why never show them what they can't do. As I said earlier, show them what they can do. And there's a reason I'm repeating myself. People don't necessarily get it the first time. It has nothing to do with men's intelligence. There's a reason for you to lock things in. And I want people to, if the people never talk to me again, never hear from me, I want them to know that what we've exposed them to here, if they listen to this podcast the second time, the first time they get 3 to 10%, the second time they get 30%, the third time they get 80%. The only time they're going to get 100% of what Anis is bringing to you through these amazing people that he reaches out to. And it's not easy to get these people to do this. He really is really good at sorting, sifting, and separating through the muck and finding outstanding people that are willing to pull back the curtain and open their heart up to you. Please understand something here. You're never going to get 100% of what you're hearing here until you implement. If you don't listen to these podcasts a second or third time, you're getting maybe 3%. And you think, oh, that was good. I got an idea. I got a famous saying. No. These are transformational, because I listened to enough of his podcasts to know that, wait a minute, these are monetizing moves. And these are emotional, cathartic, breakthrough thinking and practices. Please take what he's doing here very seriously, because there are podcasts, and there are podcasts that can cast a new life for you. Take it seriously. It's your life by design, or a life in default.
Thank you very much. No, I mean, those words mean a lot. And just to finish up, if you were to give a 30-second speech to the world, what would it be?
My 30-second speech would be pretty simple, very simple. I'm available on Instagram at Joel Bauer Mentor. And instead of giving them 30 seconds, which they'll do nothing with, I'd like to give them a $5,000 course for free. No sales pitch. At Joel Bauer Mentor, DM the number 5 moves. 5 moves. And you'll get my 5 Moves to Authority master course, which will take you a handful of hours only to finish. And you'll be positioned as the only logical choice online and offline. Because the truth is, I need to give you something of massive value. So I'll give you something that we charge independently $5,000 free, as long as it's available. So I'm not using a scarcity move here, but at any time we may pull that down and put the price back on it because it's too good. I dislike giving it away, but at the same time, I don't need your money. What I need you to do is succeed and shine, take care of your children, nurture your relationship, and have some success in monetizing online and offline. Otherwise, you're going to be serving someone else on some level versus serving yourself and empowering others and taking them on a bridge. Now, this is the only thing I'm holding up here. They can't see if they're just on audio, but I'm holding up a bridge here. And this is a bridge I made. Okay, I'm into paper. I'm into paper cutting, and this is totally handmade. I'm a bridge. I take people from where they are to where they want to go. And I'll just leave you with one thought, Anis. When Alice was walking down the path and she came in contact with the Cheshire Cat, here's the path. She came to a fork in the road and she said, which way should I go? And he said, well, where do you want to go? And she said, it doesn't matter. He said, well, if it doesn't matter, any path will take you there. It needs to matter. Most people don't know what they want. So the first thing we do is make sure we isolate exactly what they want and what they need. And then we make sure they arrive. Otherwise, we won't take them on. And I think everyone should have that ethical and moral obligation to make sure that there is a complete pathology and pathway. So when you make a promise, you know you can get them there and you're willing to hold them accountable, which is the thing that was left out of Think and Grow Rich. The entire key to your success is accountability partnership. You need to be with someone of like mind, that's why we pair up our students. We put them in small groups. We make sure they make the moves and then they show up. Otherwise, they do not facilitate and they do not succeed. Accountability is the key. Anis, thank you.
Thank you so much, Joel. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. I'll put all of the relevant links in the bio as well, so people could find you easily at the same time. I feel that this has been a wealth of knowledge on this podcast. And for the first time, I actually took a step back. I tried to interrupt you as few times as possible, because even though you hit a lot of the questions I was going to ask anyway, and the narrative, and none of this is scripted. I didn't send you any script, and this is a straight conversation between us. Felt there was so much value in what you were saying that I thought to myself, you know what, let me take a step back and let Joel work his magic. To be honest with you, I'm going to take a step forward and jump into your group at the same time. So thank you.